So it came out yesterday that the upcoming live action DC film Batgirl has been canceled. And I just look at this story alongside everything else that's happened, and this is just a new story in the long line of Warner Brothers and DC's just complete and utter failure when it comes to creating this cinematic universe. Now, it's not all their fault. That's one thing we have to really look at this objectively. It's not really Warner Brothers entirely their fault because things have happened that are out of their control. But Batgirl being canceled was kind of a weird thing because, and they say it won't even be on HBO Max. It's kind of a weird thing because they were riding on this film. Now, on this channel, I did drop Flash spoilers, the upcoming Flash movie that's supposed to come out next year with Ezra Miller. And I'm not going to go into it here, but that movie's supposed to set up Batgirl, right, with some events that happen in that film. Now, we don't even know if that movie, what's going to happen with that movie. There's different stories out there about, well, it's probably not going to be coming out, or it might get reshot with a different actor. I just feel like Ezra Miller is so synonymous with playing Flash in the movies, in the actual movies, that recasting him, I mean, they could always figure out some in-universe way of doing it, but man, I don't know. So, like I said, this Batgirl cancellation is one in a long line of DC just, it's almost like the studio's cursed. It feels that way. It all started back in 2017. So when 2017, in the year 2017, they dropped Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, a movie that was really anticipated. First time we were going to see any kind of conflict between Batman and Superman on the big screen, and it was super hyped up. Directed by Zack Snyder. The film had a really good opening weekend, but then it started to go down, and it was getting lots of crap. It was getting crapped on, and rightfully so. To me, that's not a very well-made movie. Now, the director's cut, the full, 3-hour version, is much better. But when that first movie came out, I remember that's when Warner Brothers said, okay, well, all DC films must be under 2 hours or around the 2-hour mark. And I remember that happening, and I remember thinking to myself, oof, okay. Because not only is Zack Snyder known to make long movies, but it also puts handcuffs on other directors. Then we had the Justice League fiasco with Joss Whedon. That movie comes out, does not get a lot of praise. We have the whole release the Snyder Cut, fan, I don't want to call it outrage, but fan movement. And, finally it came out after many years. But even before then, you had the Joss Whedon thing, and then there was a bunch of stuff that came out about Joss Whedon, behind the scenes dirt and things like that. And that didn't help the cause. Then when the Snyder Cut came out, everybody was like, wow, so this was much better than the Whedon Cut. Everybody said that. I mean, I don't know anybody at all who likes the Whedon Cut more. I've never met a person who has seen both films that likes the Joss Whedon version more. But Joss Whedon didn't really have much to work with in his defense, and he was kind of under Warner Brothers, the magnifying glass. But that doesn't excuse his behavior behind the scenes. Now, moving on, we also had the Suicide Squad issue, where the first Suicide Squad movie comes out, and then David Ayer's like, that's not the one that I wanted. They recut the movie again. So we have Warner Brothers going in, changing directors' visions, even though they promised to give the director full vision, and changing the direction of the franchise. And then, as if that wasn't enough nonsense, you have the Amber Heard situation with Johnny Depp, which is still in the news now. Even though the trial's over, it's still being talked about. There's still more to come. They pull her from Aquaman, recast her, and then bring her back in. And while that's going on, we have the Ezra Miller situation where the dude, allegedly, and I say allegedly because I don't know what really is going on. Nobody really knows, but he vanished and he kidnapped, I heard an elderly person, I heard an underage kid. I don't even know which is the truth here, but the dude's pretty much having some kind of crisis or some kind of issue. Then we have the situation with Ben Affleck where, he had his personal problems decided to pull out of playing Batman, but was brought back to play him in the extra scene at the end of the Snyder Cut. And he also has cameos in upcoming DC films, and there's even talk of bringing him back for yet another DC film. So imagine if you're a regular fan, if you're not somebody who checks out the internet or reads up on the behind the scenes stuff, and you suddenly hear there's two versions of the Justice League movie and you're confused about which one is canon or which one is the one that DC wants to make canon, with other movies. The only person in this whole thing who hasn't really had any issues is Gal Gadot. But even that, there was a bit of an issue with how critically poor Wonder Woman 84 was received. And then we have the Henry Cavill situation where he doesn't want to play Superman anymore, and there's rumors he might come back and he's not going to do it. So it's literally been non-stop bad news for Warner Brothers and DC. You know what I mean? Like, whether it's their fault or not, and some of it is their fault. Some of it is that the corporation is lacking direction. They don't have a Kevin Feige there to really direct them like what Disney has with Marvel. They have J.J. Abrams, but Abrams proved with Star Wars that he might not be the right guy to lead a franchise into the future, even though he's got his ideas. So it's just kind of interesting how the Batgirl thing happens and everybody seems surprised by it, but I'm not that surprised because it's just another story in this long line of DC mishaps. So what should they do? Well, as much as I personally want to see the Justice League sequels with Zack Snyder's vision, with Henry Cavill coming back, Affleck, and obviously, Gal Gadot and Ezra Miller. The Ezra Miller situation is a real-life problem involving authorities, and there's nothing they can do about that. So I hate to say it, and it's going to cost a lot of money, but it's just looking at this objectively, I feel like the only way around this is just scrap everything and start fresh. Literally start fresh with new actors playing the roles. And that sucks because Jason Momoa, somebody else who didn't really do anything wrong, Jason Momoa and Gal Gadot both have really tried their best to make the Wonder Woman and Aquaman characters respectively be fun, great characters and be good superheroes. They've done the best they can. But because of this constant drama, they're the ones who are pretty much suffering here because they can't even continue their story. With, Amber Heard, that's out of Jason Momoa's, that's out of his control. So maybe it's time they scrap everything. Or maybe it's time they just scrap everything and reboot it. Maybe do some kind of Christ on Infinite Earth storyline, which I think they were going to do anyways. Or something similar to that where you write off everyone except for Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa's Aquaman and Wonder Woman, and then you recast everybody else. That's all I can think of. You could bring in Michael Keaton again to play Bruce Wayne Batman. They were going to do that, but Batgirl got scrapped. It just feels like everything they put out is just nonsense. And the only universe they have going for it right now that's not nonsense is the brand new Matt Reeves The Batman story with Robert Pattinson. That one is actually going to be doing okay. So maybe they should just focus everything on that and just leave everything else alone. But it's going to be weird without having a new Superman movie right away or, new Aquaman. The Aquaman 2's got to come out, man. Flash is going to come out. Maybe. Who knows? It's such a mess, and it just feels like DC is cursed.